Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for today's video. In today's video I'm just going to be going through some of my tips to prep for the upcoming update, which obviously we know is coming on Wednesday, which is the Skull Rock update. So we are finally going to get to go inside Skull Rock, see what's been going on in there. Obviously we know now we are getting Peter Pan as our character for this update, as well as doing some progress to make the Forgotten an actual character. That's kind of in the valley at all times. So we have got a little bit to prepare for. This is kind of a shorter amount of tips than I usually do. Usually I do around 10. But for this update, because it is just a base game update with no realm or anything like that, and also it's kind of in an established storyline that we've already worked towards. If you've already done Act 1 of the storyline, you will know. So there is less tips than usual, but I still wanted to give out my main ones that will be relevant during this update. But for those of you who are newer to the game or kind of struggle sometimes with the updates to get everything ready and prepared, such as things like having a big stock of Dreamlight and coins and things like that, this update should be a lot easier for you to be able to kind of be prepared for and get stuck in with on Wednesday. So let's get started. So tip number one for the update, which isn't something, as I said, you will need as much of this time around, because as far as we are aware, Skull Rock won't function like a realm. You won't have to pay Dreamlight to unlock it. Obviously, that is a possibility, but I think the chances are very, very slim, because with updates, they tend to alternate them. They did kind of change that pattern this year, the start of this year, weirdly, but usually it always has gone a realm, and then it's gone just a character introduced into the game kind of randomly, and then a realm. So it's kind of alternated like that, which has been different at the start of this year, but I feel like as this is a continuation of the main storyline of the game, and the whole kind of story we did with Forgotten in Act 1, then you will not need Dreamlight to unlock Skull Rock. But just be prepared if you are someone who wants to make sure that you're kind of not blindsided on update day. Then definitely get enough for that if you feel like you would feel better about that, but I don't think you're going to need it. However, the only thing you will need for the update that includes Dreamlight is you will need it for the star path. So in the star path there are some challenges where you have to craft things like training manuals, which obviously costs Dreamlight. Now I know a lot of people hate these tasks, so hopefully they start phasing them out, because I absolutely hate having to make training manuals and use my Dreamlight to craft things for the star path. I hope that they start phasing that out, but as far as we know, this is the only thing really that you're going to need Dreamlight for. We don't think there's going to be any more floating islands, but we'll have to wait for the patch notes to know if that is the case. But obviously that is the only real other thing that Dreamlight could be used for. But I think for getting Peter Pan unlocked, you should be all good. So it's not a huge amount you're going to need for this update. Tip number two, which again is to kind of stockpile another resource, which is coins. So obviously star coins are the main currency in the game that allow you to buy Scrooge's store items, as well as build character houses and things like that. And obviously for this update we will need to build Peter Pan's house, which I think is likely going to cost star coins. Also with the Forgotten becoming like a full character, I don't know if they're going to live in their like dark castle through the portal, or if they're going to have their own house. We have not been shown anything that would suggest that they're getting their own house, but it is something that made me curious to know that if they are becoming a full-on villager in the valley, it kind of just makes sense for them to have their own house. But we don't know yet. We haven't been shown anything that would suggest that. But in terms of Peter Pan's house, you will probably need star coins to unlock that and have it built by Scrooge. As well as that, obviously with every update, Scrooge's store gets a huge range of brand new items from new locations, from quests, things like that, as well as some furniture and stuff like that from previous characters and realms and things. So you will always need coins to get all that new stock, so that is something to bear in mind if you are quite low on coins. I know most people aren't, but if you are newer to the game and you're struggling with that, it's something to bear in mind. Now tip number three is moving on to something that is directly for the star path, but is something that I always tend to forget, and I leave till last minute, which always drives me mad every time. I don't take my own advice, clearly. But for this update, I'm trying my best to be prepared for, which is to save memory orbs for the star path. Now with the star path recently, there has been a challenge to open memory orbs. It usually starts off with opening 5, and then as you get further along in the star path, it will change to like 10 and 15, which can be really difficult to do, because memory orbs have no rhyme or reason of when they drop. It's completely RNG. You could be going around mining loads of rocks or planting loads of vegetables and you get loads of orbs. Sometimes you can get absolutely none. So I always recommend leading up to an update, if you are doing any of those main tasks around the valley, such as mining, fishing, foraging, things like that, if a memory orb does drop, don't open it, save it for the star path. It will make your life a lot easier. Another tip as well that can help is that if you have the floating islands, if you do a lot of those kind of tasks up there, such as cooking and gardening, once the memory orbs have dropped on the floating island, if you go into furniture mode and you press the reset island button, it will put all the memory orbs in your pocket inventory, which means you can just kind of store them in a chest in your house and then open them whenever you need to. This can be great because obviously you can then kind of have them all stored away, especially if you don't want them kind of all over your valley, just kind of sitting there waiting to be opened. So that is another way to do it that will be really beneficial going forward. Tip number 4, again for the star path and also in the same thing of like saving items, obviously is to save night thorns, splinters of fate and inkies to be open for the star path. Now you'll always have star path quests that says to uproot the forgetting or to destroy night thorns around your valley. The splinters of fate from Eternity Isle DLC and also the inkies from the Storybook Vale DLC also count towards these tasks. So if you have any areas that you don't mind being quite messy, and you want to kind of stockpile a bunch, I tend to basically just leave Eternity Isle to have loads spawn because not much of my Eternity Isle is decorated, which means that I'm not having these horrible things spawning all over and being left there pre-update. But it will definitely help when it comes to the update because it means those tasks can be done really, really quickly, because if you just run around and uproot those all, or you use your vacuum to do so, it means that that task will be done super, super quick and will help you get through the star path a lot quicker. Now my final tip, tip number 5, which is kind of just a general one, but also again does touch into helping with the star path, is to stock up on resources that you may feel like you need. Obviously with Peter Pan, we don't know what resources and things he's going to ask for quests and stuff. That kind of just, we have to wait and see. However, something that I always try and make sure I'm stocked up on is resources to craft potions for the star path, because usually in the star path we always have a task or a few tasks where we have to craft potions, and these obviously cost Dreamlight as well as other resources. So I tend to keep those resources stocked up and ready so that when that task does appear on the star path, I can just get the potions crafted. And obviously those tasks are quite helpful anyway, because they will give you the potions that are helpful to use when you're doing other tasks around the valley. But that is obviously something that's not too important, but I just like to do to make myself feel prepared and make things a little bit easier, rather than trying to run around mid-update and try and find all these resources that I may need. As I said, those are my main 5 tips. Obviously, in general, there's a lot of other things I usually say when it comes to updates, which is stuff like kind of prepare for the character, where they're going to go, make sure you've obviously kind of completed things. With this one, it is a bit tougher because it isn't a realm, and as well as that, I don't know how much doing Act 1 is going to impact this update. I don't know if you haven't completed Act 1, if you're going to be able to complete the update. I don't know how it's going to work. I would hope that you can kind of enjoy the update and unlock Skull Rock and get Peter and all that stuff pretty easily, even if you haven't done Act 1 of the story. But that is something to bear in mind if you are brand new to the game, that if you haven't done the main storyline, I don't know how much that's going to impact things, but I'm hoping that you guys can still enjoy it and obviously still unlock all the new stuff. You'll still have access to the new star path and all that stuff anyway, but obviously we don't know too much yet about how kind of continued the story is going to be and how much that will impact newer players. So it is something to bear in mind, but unfortunately I don't know either ways that I can kind of help or give you tips to get to that point. Let me know down below if you have any other tips that you want to share with anyone else or anything I have missed. Sorry that it is such a short list, but obviously for this update I just feel like there is less you can really do to prepare, because it's not kind of as based on a realm or anything like that, and there's only one character coming. But I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more from me and if you're excited for the update, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!